Hey, welcome back to Pilot Lounge. I'm Paul Harrop. We're coming to you from my dining room for this edition. And on the line from Utah is our good friend, Cory Robin. Cory, what's up, man?
How's it going, Paul? How are you?
I'm doing well. How's everything going out there for you?
As good as it can be. It's a strange new world we live in. It's amazing how quickly things kind of changed on us, but yeah, doing pretty good.
Well, I don't think you'll be a new face to most of our viewers. I think everybody's kind of familiar with you, but kind of tell people like who you are and what you do and how you got there.
You know, I'm just a guy who posts videos on YouTube and other social media and pictures of just me having a lot of fun flying my bush plane. That's the long and short of it. Just trying to showcase how much fun aviation can be should you choose to do it as more of a recreational side of things rather than a career.
Gotcha. And so you fly a gorgeous CarbonCub EX. It's got maybe a modification or two. You want to tell folks about your airplane?
Yeah, I do. It's a Cub Crafters CarbonCub EX. It's one of the original EXs. It does have quite a few modifications to it, but you know, I really love the simplicity of their very first CarbonCub model. Does not have a constant speed propeller. It's just a very simple airplane, just as a Super Cub should be. But it's an amazing lightweight bush plane. I can take on and off in sub 100 feet if I'm really trying hard. Everything from big tires to awesome shocks to some modifications to the airframe and the wing a little bit, just to make it more my thing. And yeah, it's an awesome airplane. I sure enjoy flying it around, and it's got a nickname of Ghost, which is kind of fun to play that. And you know, the kids have a lot of fun with the little Ghost logo and the nicknames. I think everybody, seems like a trend. Everybody's nicknaming their airplanes these days.
For sure. Well, where does Ghost come from?
Kind of a fun story. When I first purchased the airplane, it was a simple black and silver design, and then the orange that you see on it now was added later. And as I was flying with a bunch of friends of mine, you know, one friend commented, "Hey, you keep disappearing like a ghost," even though I was flying in a fairly close formation. That black and silver paint scheme wasn't very, didn't stand out very visually against the Nevada desert background that we were flying over at the time. And they just, throughout that trip, just kept saying, "Wow, you disappear like a ghost." And then everybody kind of decided that that was the nickname of the airplane. And because of that safety issue that I was pretty uncomfortable with, actually, that's where I came up with the orange, the decals that are on it now, where you have the orange leading edge and a lot of the accents are in orange. Mostly because I like orange and it looks good on the airplane, but it's really a safety thing so my buddies that I'm flying with can spot me better. So I'm less of a ghost now than I was originally, but the nickname stuck.
Hey, you know what? Just run with it. If you earn that call sign, I guess it can stick. So tell me about the kinds of places you like to fly into. I've rarely seen you operate off of pavement.
Yeah, you know, the pavement thing is a heck of a lot of fun, but you know, you get those big bush wheels on there, those huge 35-inch tires that I have, and really it becomes about the off-airport experience. And I'm a real huge fan of being outdoors and outside, and it really fits very elegantly with the backcountry flying aspect and the big tires of the airplane. And so whenever I want to go on a hike, it's less jumping in the car and going to a canyon here in Utah. It's jumping in the airplane and going and finding a wonderful hike or the way to connect with nature. So just as long as there's no runway involved, that's my favorite aspect of owning the Super Cub. And being able to go out and enjoy nature and pretty much land wherever you want. You know, obviously there's the legality. You got to make sure where you're landing is legal. Make sure you're on a public land, or if you're landing on private land, that you have permission. But you know, for the most part, the West out here is a playground. It's a fantastic place to own a bush plane. And I do travel. I've taken the airplane all over the country and up into Alaska, and so it's definitely a great platform to connect with nature. And that's really, you know, the most fun I have with it is getting out and landing where you kind of imagine that maybe nobody's ever landed there before.
That's pretty cool. And I know you inspire a lot of people with the videos you put out. How do you get to that level of training and proficiency and safety to where you can actually get in a big tired airplane and go do some of the things you do?
Well, you know, to maybe demystify it a little bit, the Super Cub's actually a really easy to operate aircraft, and there's really not, I mean, there's some skill set that's involved when you get into the more advanced and technical stuff, but anybody can fly a Super Cub if you're a pilot, right? It's the, you know, and that's one commonality between all the bush type airplanes, whether it be the Super Cub or whether it be something like a Kit Fox or a Highlander or a Super Stol or a Chipper or whatever it might be. They're just super easy to fly airplanes. And so then it comes to just basic skills, the fundamentals, getting back to the stuff that you were learning when you were doing touch and goes for your private pilot license, you know, landing on a spot, energy management and things like that. And it's just taking it to a new level every single time you get out and practice. And then when you get to the point where you can land on a little goat trail or, you know, a little ridge top that's fairly narrow or maybe short, and you've just got to get to the point where you can do a really good spot landing and then be able to manage the energy of your aircraft so you can stop in time for whether it be short or clear obstacles or whatever the case may be. But, I'm not a super pilot or anything. I definitely feel comfortable in my airplane, but it really comes down to, just going out and practicing it and doing it. You do it over and over enough, you feel more and more comfortable, more and more competent. And that's one of the things I also love about the backcountry flying is it does take you kind of back to the stick and rudder skills that, you get into commercial flying and it's more about managing systems and autopilots and things like that. And so I think that's one of the reasons why the backcountry aviation has really kind of sprung up as a surprise the last several years, that it really is a fun thing to do as a recreational activity. So we're just loving it.
Yeah, and backcountry flying and STOL demonstrations and competitions of different types are really popular around the country. What do you think it is that draws the crowd in there so much?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Really what I think it is it's the accessibility. People look at the simplicity of the backcountry type airplanes and they kind of think to themselves, hey, I might be able to do that. I might have a Cessna 182 now. Can I actually get into some backcountry flying in my Cessna 182 or my 172 or a Diamond or whatever the case may be? And the answer is maybe you can. There's a lot of unpaved, whether it be grass or groomed dirt strips that you can get virtually any airplane into and out of. And so if you want to kind of gradually step your way into it, bring what you got and find the right, airstrip to practice on. And there's grass airstrips all over the country that you can kind of get a off-airport experience with, even though a lot of them are designated airstrips. But just kind of work your way into it. And, the biggest thing is, what helped me when I was first starting is just go get some instruction, some specific backcountry instruction. There's no substitute for the comfort level and the safety factor of getting that high quality instruction. I don't necessarily recommend, just going out and trying it, right? There's definitely some skills, whether it be canyon flying or nailing approaches behind the power curve, where they don't really teach those skills in your primary flight training. So that's something you probably want to get a little bit of help with. And there's also books, there's the Sparky Imison Mountain Flying Bible book and some other resources that you can get into to get the knowledge part of it handled. But developing the skills, I definitely highly recommend getting involved with a good backcountry instructor.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, do not try this at home kind of thing. So what would your message be to folks that see your videos and are inspired by it? What would you would tell them to encourage them to come along and join the fun and the community? It seems like there's a big community around backcountry aviation.
Yeah, it's special, I think, to, aviation. Aviation in itself is a great community, but then there's these kind of niche communities, whether you're a helicopter pilot or you're a member of the women in aviation groups or whatever the case may be. And backcountry does have a very close social aspect to it, which is really wonderful. And that's probably one of the best places for you to start. There's lots of social media out there, whether it be Facebook groups or on Twitter or Instagram, there's just a huge community where you can interact with people that are already doing it. Or if you're just interested in kicking tires and you may not be interested in doing it yourself, you just kind of want to check it out and see the adventures, that's a great place to start. But then getting involved more locally, there's big tire pilots or backcountry pilots pretty much all over the country now, which is fantastic. So, in your local area, just do what you used to do when you were social, and hopefully once all this craziness calms down with COVID-19, we can get out there and do that. But, start right now, because it's a weird time. Get on social media and just follow it and get involved. I guess that's the way to do it, is just do it. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty sage advice. And yeah, right now I think everybody's kind of keeping a tab of Facebook open and keeping in touch with people, which is so important right now. I mean, we're such a connected world, especially in aviation and through aviation, to now have to kind of sit inside and do our work from our homes. It's weird for me, at least. And I think it's helpful to stay connected in the ways that we can, via video chat or anything like that. And yeah, there's tons of groups and stuff out there. What are the feedback? What is the feedback you get from people when they get to meet you and get to visit with you in front of your airplane?
Oh man, it's humbling actually to have people come up to you. And I was actually at an AOPA fly-in. They had the Livermore fly-in last year that I was invited to come and do a STOL demonstration. And we interacted with a lot of the people that saw the STOL thing that we put on. And I had at least a dozen people come up and talk to me and say that they followed the videos. But those one or two people that actually, this one young man brought a picture, or he brought his private pilot license with him and said, hey, I actually had zero interest in flying at all until I saw your videos, and I love mountain biking, I love kayaking. And he just told me he has kind of an adventure lifestyle. He was young, he was probably mid-20s, but he said, I never thought that getting a pilot's license would be a gateway to those types of adventures. I always saw it as something that was more stuffy, more corporate feel, the corporate jets that are a big part. When people look up in the sky, they see an airplane and they don't necessarily associate it with recreation. And so that's the side of it that's really exciting for me, that I enjoy, because I've never flown as a commercial pilot or done it for an income or anything like that. And for us to be able to showcase it to people that it's a fun activity like boating or like motorcycling or whatever the case may be, and maybe not that much more expensive or even maybe cheaper than some other activities. So it's awesome to be able to interact with people and have them share with you that you were a small part in their inspiration to do it. It's definitely humbling. I'm duplicitous about it a little bit because there's some responsibility that comes along with it. But I'm just like, whoa, wow, that's a big responsibility. But I guess my big motivation is just putting out videos where I'm just having fun myself, and hopefully people enjoy it. And it seems like that's what's happening for the most part.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I watch your stuff, and I've known you for a couple years, and I've flown in your back seat with you in the mountains. In fact, my only time flying with somebody through the mountains where we were going to land on the mountains was with you. I got to do that again sometime. But I'm always struck at some of the young fans. I know you have one young super fan named Russell who just can't get enough of your videos. What's it like to be able to reach people even at that 6, 7, 8 age?
Well, the kids for me are like the icing on the cake, and I love that aspect of it, that we can create this type of flying content that can be consumed by children of all ages. And actually, right here in my little studio, Russell's mother actually sent me these pictures. You can see it kind of in the background here. I'm pointing to it, but Russell's a super fan, and it's when you get those letters and the little care packages around the holidays of the parents reaching out to you and thanking you, because a lot of the kids these days consume content online, especially with what's going on, in huge quantity. And for the parents and for the kids to have access to something that nurtures interest and inspires them, it's kind of a byproduct. It's not something that I intended to do, but it's something I'm really grateful as to how it turned out, because, you know, I met Russell in person on multiple occasions, because his family, it's an aviation family, and it's just really cool to hear from the parents say, hey, thank you so much for inspiring my child, because kids don't necessarily listen to their parents the way they do other people. Like if they think that, you know, like Russell, for example, he's like, you're way cooler than my dad. And I kind of look at his dad and I kind of chuckle because his dad is an awesome backcountry pilot too. But sometimes it's like you don't necessarily listen to your parents. And so to have, you know, if I can serve that role where I can reach, you know, Russell on behalf of his parents, hey, I'll take it, right? You know?
Yeah, no kidding.
Job done. I mean, if they were trying to inspire him to get interested in a STEM type curriculum, whether it be science, you know, or whatever, aviation is a great avenue for that. And if I can be a small part to make that happen for kids, that's an awesome thing.
So it's a little bit of a change of subject, a little bit of a pivot here, but one thing I think helps a lot of people right now as we're all kind of getting through this time of social isolation and distancing is kind of making sure that you have some mind candy with which to relax. And you actually have a separate YouTube channel that you put up these videos. Tell me about the Relaxation channel and what kind of the idea behind that is.
Well, there is a definite kind of an interesting thing going on in the world where people are consuming YouTube content in long format. And I kind of thought to myself, well, one day I was like, I have all these flights where, you know, we don't necessarily want to make our flights unsafe. And so when I hit record on the cameras and I chop it all up into a nice little 10-15 minute YouTube video, the thing that people don't see on the back end is I have all this uncut footage that's hours and hours of really beautiful flying that's maybe not necessarily super engaging. It's almost relaxing. And so I was watching this one day and I actually just accidentally left one of these videos on, and I was like, wow, that's actually something that people might enjoy. And so what I do is I take a lot of the forward-facing camera views whether it be I'm flying on a cross-country flight over cornfields in the Midwest, or I'm going through a river run in Utah. I've taken these and I've put kind of relaxation music to it. You know, something like piano music, something that will help you, you know, just kind of chill out and relax, something to maybe put on the background. But if you do look at it, it's this beautiful flight. Well, that's just been super fun to do, and I had no idea it was going to take off the way it did. I was like, wow, you know, I could use some, you know, something to have on in the background. And, you know, kind of the funny thing is I've been contacted by things like dentists and doctors and airman medical doctors where, hey, I want to play this in the lobby of my medical, you know, in the waiting room. And I said, well, yeah, sure, go ahead. You know, I send them the footage and that kind of thing. So that's just kind of a fun thing to do on the side. I guess it's all fun to do on the side, but
sure.
Yeah, kind of an interesting byproduct of just having all this footage and, you know, just putting it to use. And if somebody can kind of put it on and chill and relax, then that's awesome.
We'll put some links to your different channels and some of your videos here in with that. But I gotta give you a little hat tip. I completely ripped off your idea there. The other day I found this clip from 2012 of a GoPro going all the way down the coast of Florida for like an hour and a half, and I'm like, hey, I know what to do with this. I'm gonna put some nice music behind it and throw it up there. So tip of the hat to Cory Robin's Relaxation channel there for
that's awesome.
The idea for it. So, well, cool, man. Well, thanks for taking some time out of your schedule to chat with us. It's a kind of a fascinating look into the guy behind some of the best content out there. I am a fan, and I think a lot of people are. So keep it up, my friend.
Oh, thanks, Paul. That's very flattering. I appreciate it. You know, someone in your position who puts out probably some of the best content in the industry, let alone, you know, we're just, you know, I kind of think of me and my friends that put all the YouTube content out there. We're just a bunch of knuckleheads flying airplanes and having fun, and we're just kind of lucky to be able to share it. But guys like you doing it for a living and putting out such great production value, that's really a compliment coming from you. So I appreciate that.
Well, thank you, my friend. That's kind words from you as well. And keep on doing that, because those of us that make the content, we have to have the mind candy as well, and it all seems to happen there west of the Rockies. So, Cory Robin, thank you so much for your time, and keep on doing what you're doing, and we'll connect back with you here, hopefully in person at a fly-in as soon as it's safe.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Appreciate your time.